Alrighty, welcome back everyone. So we are into the Golden Week celebration. We of course have our part 1 characters with Hit and Goku and everyone else right here in the game. But today, I want to go ahead and focus on the part 2 of the Golden Week celebration, talking with you guys about who we should hopefully see become our part 2 LR for the celebration as a whole. Now, for any of you who do not know, basically the part 2 of the Golden Week celebration gives us a new yellow coin LR. So today, we're going to go ahead and try to figure out who that part 2 LR should be. So we have a bunch of different options to talk about. I'll talk about the practicality of the different options, who I want the part 2 LR to be. We'll talk about the categories that are in need and stuff like that for help and everything. So we'll try to be as in-depth as possible, even though the fact of the matter is we're basically operating in the dark. But nevertheless, hopefully you guys will enjoy the vid. If you do, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, show your support. We are on the road to 1K subs. Also, comment down below your thoughts. Let us all know who is the character that you want to see become our part 2 LR. Let us know in the comments down below. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to make sure we're on the same page of is what is the theme of the celebration, because the theme is very important if we're going to try to figure out who our character should be for the part 2 LR spot. Now, based off what we've seen for the part 1 of the theme and everything, you know, we got Super Saiyan Blue Captain Goku from like Universe 6 versus Universe 7 arc. We got all the different stuff right here. Everything is leaning towards Universe 6 versus Universe 7 specifically as the focal point. Now, people like to maybe expand it to Dragon Ball Super or Tournament of Power in general. We have no official kind of confirmation of that. There is possibilities for it, but based off what we've seen, really, we just have to assume for the time being that it is Universe 6 versus Universe 7, and that is that. So that's important to understand, because with that theme, now we can come up with some more straightforward ideas for who our part 2 LR can be. Now, with that being said, the first idea I want to talk about, which is probably the most popular idea, is Kefla. Now, LR Kefla is an idea that a lot of people have been kind of promoting for a while now, and this is one of those moments where a lot of people are saying with the new tag reversible exchange mechanic from the 10th anniversary, with the timing of the celebration, this is the pinnacle moment that Kefla should be added to the game as an LR. And you know, I will say, from a money-making standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a quote-unquote practicality standpoint, it all makes sense, because Kefla is a character that, in my opinion, as well as with a lot of people, Kefla is a worthy character of being an LR. After all, her opposite, STR-UI Goku, has an LR of his own. And I mean, we're not going to say that UI Goku is not an LR, but if UI Goku is an LR from that specific moment with Kefla, Kefla then, as a counterpart, should be an LR of her own as a Yellow Coin LR, which kind of makes sense too. So from a money-making standpoint and all that stuff, I think Kefla is the most practical option. I will say that right now in terms of that focus. However, I will say right now, you know, despite the ideas that we could see for the reversible exchange option and stuff, despite what we could see for the design and everything, I do not want us to get a part 2 Kefla LR for this specific celebration based off what we've seen thus far. Now, if with new EZAs and stuff, we expand to maybe Universe 6 in general and Universe 7, then I may be a bit more open to it. But the fact of the matter is, the whole focus has been Universe 6 versus Universe 7 as an arc, it feels like. And if that's the case, Kefla was not a part of that arc, right? She was a part of Tournament of Power. And don't get me wrong, again, Kefla is worthy of an LR, but, you know, we could see Kefla become an LR for Tanabata. We could see her become an LR for Worldwide Celebration, or, you know, like the middle of December Carnival LR spot, or other things like that. So there are other opportunities for Kefla to become an LR. It doesn't mean that she has to be one right now, even though this is a good sense of timing for her to become one, right? So that's what I would say right there. But, you know, again, from a money-making standpoint, like, it would be very shocking if Dokkan does not make her the LR just strictly in terms of trying to get in sales and all that stuff. I think from that standpoint alone, it's probably kind of obvious that Kefla will be the go-to pick for a lot of them, for like the development team and for a lot of players to go for. But, you know, for me, I just don't think Kefla is the character that I want to see become our part 2 LR given what we have so far. So that's what I'll say right there. But Kefla could be very fun, you know, obviously leading Potara and stuff, or like different categories right there. Being a Universe 6 buff, of course, you know, that'll be really fun, but that's just all the stuff I feel like in that sort of thing right there. The reversible exchange and tag mechanic could be cool, but, you know, I mean, it's kind of like an iffy kind of feeling to me. Like, on one hand, I think it's a great idea. On the other hand, I'm like, but do I want it to happen now? I feel like that's like the back and forth that's kind of happening in my soul right now when it comes to her, but it is what it is. Anyways, Kefla is one of those options. The other option I want to talk about right here is Kaba. Now, a lot of people have been throwing out Kaba's name. I don't know if specifically people want base Kaba or if they want Super Saiyan Kaba, but I will say, from a practicality standpoint for sales and for who I think the LR should be, Kaba fits neither of those things. I don't want him to be the LR because of like theming and of the theme and everything. I don't want him to be the LR. I don't think he will be the LR in terms of making money. So like, you know, from those standpoints alone, Kaba is probably not going to be the option. However, I will say there is one avenue in which Kaba makes sense to me, and it is strictly from the sense of trying to follow the theme of Universe 6 versus Universe 7, and also trying to lean into the meme, trying to lean into the joke that is base Kaba, because obviously everyone knows the memes of base Kaba versus Gogeta and stuff. If they want to have some fun, they could give us Part 2 LR base Kaba, who transforms into Super Saiyan Kaba, because you can't ignore that, of course. Have that be the moment, and then I think, you know what, that could work, but at the same time, like, from like any sort of practical, logical aspect, I just don't think Kaba should be the choice. I feel like anyone who's saying Kaba is kind of being a bit hopeful, but also I think it's probably not going to happen. We could have it happen, who knows? I could be dead wrong about this, but you know, based off what we know, based off what we've seen, I just don't think Kaba makes sense. I really don't. Like, we've had some weird LRs in the past, don't get me wrong. I just think this is not the time we should get another one. I just don't think we should be getting base Kaba or anything like that. So that's what I would say right there. But yeah, base Kaba is definitely an option. You know, he could boost Universe 6 as well. He could focus on that. Maybe boost Saiyans, boost Vegeta and all this stuff. We could see some interesting kind of dynamics, but I think in the grand scheme of things, yeah, just leave Kaba out of it. I feel like Kaba, apart from the meme, there's no good reason to keep him as an LR candidate in the grand scheme of things. Now, to segue from Kaba, I think the perfect segue for him is to go into Vegeta. Now, some people have been saying Vegeta, but not a lot of people. And I can kind of understand why. It's because this arc, Universe 6 versus Universe 7, is not Vegeta's best moment, right? Yes, he does have some moments, you know, beating Magetta, I believe, beating Frost, trying to beat Hit, but he didn't do that. Training Kaba, of course, you know, helping him get Super Saiyan and ultimately beating him in the end. He has his moments, but this is not one of Vegeta's highlights in terms of his life. So when you look at that sort of stuff and everything, I mean, Vegeta being an option, I don't think it makes sense. Yes, Vegeta has a bunch of LRs because he's a character who is worthy of a lot of LR moments. But, you know, I don't know if I would want to say that he should be the LR in the grand scheme of things. He could be a nice buff for Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, who wants more Universe 7 characters and stuff. So, you know, he could be a great update, a great, you know, asset to Goku's kind of kid and everything. We could see that, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I just don't know. I just don't feel it. I really don't. But, I mean, we'll have to kind of, I guess, look and see. We'll have to think about it. Truth be told, I really just don't feel the idea of Vegeta being an LR in this specific instance. If it was Tournament of Power, if it was the Goku Black arc, all that stuff, I'd be down for it. I just don't know if this is the arc that I want to pick and choose from, because it's not really one of Vegeta's best moments for me in terms of, like, his entire lifespan in that sense. So that's what I'll probably say right there. Okay, now we can go into a couple more wonky ideas, some ideas that I'm actually a bit more favorable towards. But the first idea I want to talk about is Champa. Now, Champa, I've said it on Twitter and like other platforms and talking to my friends and stuff, Champa could be a very funny LR. But the way I want to frame this is one of two things. One idea kind of came to me out of nowhere. But one idea is to frame it as Champa and Beerus, which basically is just like, you know, you could have it like be a tag unit or like an exchange unit or whatever. You know, Champa and Beerus, have them side by side. I think that'll make great sense, because when you talk about Universe 6 versus Universe 7 as arc, both of them are the head honchos. They're the reasons this whole tournament got started in the grand scheme of things. Goku got involved, of course, but really it was Beerus and Champa. Obviously, both of them constructed the teams and everything, you know, try to get their things going. And obviously they were like the heads of the whole kind of the snakes, if you will, I guess, for the teams. But, you know, when it comes to Champa and Beerus, they're obviously like brothers and everything. There's a lot of, I guess, chemistry and lack thereof for them. But, like, you know, Champa and Beerus could be pretty funny. I think there's a lot of moments you could pick between them. If they're an exchange character, you could obviously have them cover Universe 6 and Universe 7 as a categories along with other stuff. So, you know, all that stuff could allow for a lot of opportunities. I mean, I would say for Beerus and Champa, the reason I will say this is the LR that I personally want to see for 2 to 3 main reasons. One is for the sake of trolling, because it would be hilarious if we got Part 2 LR Champa and Beerus. The second reason is because it fits the theme, at least what we know of, which is Universe 6 versus Universe 7. And the third thing, which is kind of specific, is the idea that they could be an exchange character with all the categories. That does mean that Champa and Beerus could be one of the best supports in-game for the Universe 6 and Universe 7 categories, because, you know, you would have Beerus boosting Universe 7, you have Champa boosting Universe 6. That means that this character could work, in theory, with Hit, and also could work with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku. Maybe you could put them together, all sorts of stuff. So, you know, all those things in mind, I really would like the idea of Champa and Beerus being our new Part 2 LR. But I understand from the money-making standpoint, probably not going to happen. I just want to kind of throw them out there as my hopeful pick, because I think, man, would it be funny? And I think there's a lot of kit viability and possibilities for that type of unit that maybe people don't even realize. I think that's really the case. But Champa and Beerus, definitely my pick. We don't have a design of them, but, you know, I just kind of want to bring up Champa in general to kind of talk about that. So Champa and Beerus right there. The other one I want to talk about, and this is one I just don't want to forget, is Beerus right here. Now, Beerus, I'm not talking about Beerus as an option, right? But I brought up Beerus and Whis because the opposite of Beerus and Whis is Champa and Vados, right? So if we got Beerus and Whis into the game, obviously, you know, iconic duo right there, if you will, Champa and Vados should be an LR, in theory, because like the gimmicky stuff and all that, right? So Champa and Vados could be an option. It would fit the whole Universe 6, Universe 7 arc, of course, and obviously Champa and Vados together are the reason this whole arc got started, because they were searching for the Super Dragon Balls. They got their noses into Universe 7 and stuff, so they're the reasons all this happened, right? So, you know, in that respect, if we got LR, Champa, and Vados boosting Universe 6, I think it can make great sense. You know, when we talk about like the categories and stuff that are in need of help, I already mentioned them really, but Universe 6 and Universe 7, those are the two categories seeing some type of buff lately, you know, with Magetta and Hit right here for Universe 6. For Universe 7, you know, you got the new Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, Piccolo and stuff. So both categories that could see some love. They do need some love, of course, just to make them more fun, more comprehensive, more viable. But we'll have to kind of see. I think in the grand scheme of things, like I will say right now, from a money-making standpoint, I think Kefla is going to be the best option from what I think is the best choice for a kit design possibility and stuff, and like overall kind of concept and everything for the two categories. I think Champa and Beerus is my go-to pick. I think overall, when it comes to the category between the two that needs more love, it's going to be Universe 6, because Universe 6 just doesn't have a lot of characters to choose from. Universe 7, even though it's a category that's not that fun to run, you still have a lot of characters you can pick and choose from. Of course, you know, we like, you know, with whatchamacallit, why am I blanking? With the 10th anniversary, there we go, I forgot the 10th anniversary. With the 10th anniversary, you have Go Frieza, you have Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta, you have Tech UI Goku from before that, not Go Frieza, but 17 and Frieza. You have Team Universe 7, you know, MUI, Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta. There's a lot of characters here. Universe 6 doesn't really have that much, so I think Universe 6 Universe 6 is going to be the category that's going to see more love, but we'll have to kind of wait and see, because I will tell you right now, I'm recording this on the 30th of April. We're still in the very beginning, really, of the part 1 of the Golden Week celebration, so we still have a long way to go for the part 2 of the celebration, but I think, you know, in talking about these ideas, you know, there's a lot of different options you can pick and choose from. Again, you know, some people may want base Kappa and stuff for the meme, Vegeta and stuff. I think really the two best options for me in terms of like everything, one is probably going to be like Kefla. I think Kefla from one standpoint is probably the best option, the option to go to. The other probably could be Champa and Beerus, and I guess, you know what, I'll say it, Champa and Vados could work too. But for me, I would prefer Champa and Beerus more than Champa and Vados, but that's just me. You know, you could pick different options, but we'll have to kind of wait and see what they're going to do, and obviously this is all kind of speculatory at the end of the day, so we'll have to kind of wait and see and hope what's going to happen in that sort of grand scheme of things. In any case, that's going to be where we wrap things up. I did kind of ramble on a bit at the end there, but you know, comment down below your thoughts. Let us all know who is that character that you want to see become our part 2 LR. If you guys enjoyed the vid, again, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, show your support. Thank you all so much for watching, take care, stay blessed, and I will see you all in the next one.